Well, the weekend is a bit chaotic, but that doesn't mean that I have to make it slow down for everyone. So today we're going to be focusing on four reviews. The first one is from the promotion GLEAT, where the G Pro Wrestling version 62 Burn Your Heart that took place back on the 21st of October. It features just regular matches, but also some interesting storylines taking place. And then, of course, we have ChocoPro 337 that took place on the 22nd of October instead of having it the weekend. But I'll explain a little bit about that during the review on that. And then, of course, we go to day 5 of the Super Junior Tag League by New Japan Pro Wrestling. The obvious question does tell, who's going to take the lead in going into this tournament all the way to the finals? Well, we'll see until we get there. But of course, we have AEW Collision with the main event, first time ever, MJF versus Kenny Omega, and all this and whatnot. I'm so excited to see how this is going to go. And then, of course, we got some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, of course, which wrestlers have been signed or left the promotions, or any injured wrestlers, the whole enchilada. So let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of reviews on various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where wrestling is not as big, but it is growing. We also do some discussion videos on various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the units, storylines, anything we can get our hands on. We do some more news updates, what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, and of course on real timing with news update alerts and all this other stuff. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us on the subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and very other cool stuff we'll be doing on this channel. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment down below. Excuse me. Now, let's begin with our very first review. This is from the Japanese promotion GLEAT with G Pro Wrestling version 62, Burn Your Heart. They were in Osaka, Japan at the Osaka Stella Hall. First match, we have Issei Onitsuka teaming up with Fire Katsumi. Now, recently, Katsumi was kidnapped by the Hans family, which is Onitsuka's unit he's in. Seems like they're still trying to recruit more people. I don't know how Katsumi will feel about it. He seems like a bit odd, but he's teams up with Onitsuka to take on Andy Wu and JD Lee. I have to say it was a pretty good match. Not to mention, it seems like uh, Katsumi and Onitsuka got along great. But the obvious question is, will Katsumi accept the offer to join full time, or that sort of thing? I don't know. However, it was Onitsuka who speared Lee to pick up the win. However, while the rest of the Yans family head back to the backstage, the leader Takanori Ito stayed behind because he meets up with Tetsuya Izushi, Hayato Tamura, and of course the leader of Black Generation International, Kaito Ishida, because all four of these men will be in the main event in a four-way match. So we'll be seeing them a little bit. Next match we have, of course, the Yoshis taking on. We have Azura Inaba, the younger sister of Tomoka Inaba, taking on her sister's former best friend, Aoi. Now, as you know, Aoi has been very, very vicious, who is determined to prove Unagi Sayaka wrong since aligned herself with Michiko. However, Inaba put up a best fight, but however, somehow I believe that because Aoi has the much better experience than Inaba, uh, picked up the win when she applied an inside cradle. Now, I did mention Azura Inaba said that she wants to team up with Unagi, but AOI is trying to tell her, "Are you sure you want to have that weight on your shoulder?" It's like she's object with the idea, but I don't know what Unagi would think. But I think Unagi's questioning AOI. What does it matter with you? You're not part of with me anymore. You chose to leave. So basically, the way I see it, it's more like AOI doesn't think it's a good option for her. But you got to ask yourself, why did AOI chose her instead? Chose Unagi, and then all of a sudden, I mean, this is the second time that someone who was like a junior to Unagi went to the other side. It happened with Mai Sakurai, but we'll see what happens in the future. Next up, we have Jun Tonsho taking Katero Suzuki. Suzuki put up a very interesting match. However, he defeated Tonsho with a very interesting submission. I don't even know what it is. It looks more like he was about to break a shoulder, but it ended just like that. Next up, we have a very interesting tag match. We have Yuya Suzumu teaming up with Soma Watanabe. These guys have been a very successful team recently. However, they take on Generation International, consisting of Keishi Sato and Harley Jackson. Now, I don't know how they'll pull this off because Harley Jackson is a big dude. You know, it would take a lot to put this guy down. But it was Jackson who picked up the win, basically onto Watanabe. However, this is also a good win for Saito because recently Sato has been on a losing streak with the team. He hasn't picked up a win that he can do himself, but he ended up with the good win on the winning team. Before we head to the next match, we had a very surprise visit from Shima, who we haven't seen for quite some time. I don't know what he was doing, but he seems like he was very excited to what's going to happen in the entire show. But it's great to see. Now, our next match, we have the members of Strong Hearts, consisting of El Lindaman and T-Hawk. They take on the members of the Yans family, more specifically Yusuke Kodama and Masato Kamino. I have to say it was a pretty good darn match, but surprisingly, it was Kamino who picked up the win when he applied a big lariat onto T-Hawk and pinning him. However, because of this win, it became now known. Now, it doesn't take a genius to understand the language, but understand how this match went. If you guys follow GLEAT, T-Hawk is the top champion of GLEAT. He is the G-Rex champion, which is like the World Heavyweight Championship in the promotion. However, because Kamino pinned him, he issued the challenge against T-Hawk, and I'm sure T-Hawk is down for it. This will be a good thing for Kamino now that he has an opportunity. Now, they haven't decided when it's going to happen, but I'm sure we'll get to that. Next match, we have Kaz Hayashi, Yu Isuka, Minoru Tanaka, and then finally Tomoaki Hamna, or as Kevin Kelly would say, "Hey, look, it's Hamna." That's right. They take on the members of Bulk Orchestra, consistent of Kazuma Sakamoto, Chek Shimatani, Magnetu Kishimura, and Rusuke Kawakami. Now, Bulk Orchestra has proven time and time why they are the number one faction in, of course, GLEAT. Of course, other units are fighting, but however, we have seen Hayashi and Tanaka have been a very stable tag team. Hamna, we know his reputation, not only because he, we know his name, he's from New Japan. He's been around forever. But however, the big surprising win came from Yu Isuka when he applied a submission on Kamitani. I don't know if it was like a triangle lancer type move, but he picked up his first good win. I have to say, pretty amazing. So we could see more about this guy. Now, finally, our main event is a four-way match. We have Tetsuya Izushi, Takanori Ito, Hayato Tamura, and Kaito Ishida. Now, Ishida is and Ito are the leaders of the respected factions. Ito's the leader of the Yans family, while Ishida is the leader of the Black Generation International. They take on, of course, in a four-way with Hayato Tamura, who's like a member of the Bulk Orchestra, and of course, former leader of 60 Seconds, Tetsuya Izushi. But there were a lot of variables in this match. Izushi still has some unfinished business with Ishida. Ishida, when he first arrived, he decided to target Izushi for some odd reason. But however, that match didn't end in that way. It ended with a muscle buster by Hayato onto Ito to pick up a good win. So I don't know what's going on, but I can tell at certain moments Izushi still has some unfinished business with Ishida. But however, Ishida's not gonna try to deal with it. He's trying to regain what he lost, which is of course the GX title, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So I can't wait to see what version 63 will bring. Just please stand by for that. But I think that's pretty much it right now what we have for GLEAT. I think it's time for ChocoPro. Okay, ChocoPro with 337. We only have two matches involving in this one. Um, of course, Balinaki opened up the show, but on a side note for this particular day, this show was recorded on the 22nd. The reason behind it is Balinaki, as you know, came here to the States to participate in New Japan Pro Wrestling for the Las Vegas show, Fighting Spirit Unleashed. Mei Shruga is currently in Mexico during the Grand Prix for the women's division and all this other stuff. So I don't know what the others are doing. I'm sure some of them participating with DDT or Gambari Pro, however they want to be doing things. But however, that doesn't stop that we got to enjoy this show. Our first opening match is a tag match. We have Antonio Honda and Masahiro Takanashi. They take on Chiko Shikawa and Balinaki. Now, of course, Honda and Masa have teamed up before. They are somewhat of a stable team in some ways. Nothing compare like, of course, him and like Masa and Chris, but it is what it is, how it tells out. But however, it was what was it? It was a beautiful bridge made by Honda onto Chiko Shikawa to pick up the win. So that was pretty good. However, our next and final match is a Halloween Rumble match. Basically, everybody are dressed up in costume. We had various people that were dressed up. We had a vampire. We had some princesses, an Egyptian. Koji from Uma showed up out of the blue. So there was a lot of variables. But one of my favorite moments is, of course, Nonoka Seto dressed up as a vampire and she bit her own sister. That sort of thing. Now, however, the rules in this type of Rumble match, since they don't have a ring, there's a few ways it could win to eliminate their person, either by submission or pinfall, or tossing them through the window. So yeah, basically that's how it ends. So, however, the person that won this particular match, I did not expect, was Sayaka Obihiro. I thought it was great. Now, however, one thing that was crazy was, in fact, the Jonkin tournament. It was hard to determine, but however, I did not expect her to win again. So basically, she was 2 for 2 in this particular tournament, and that is Sayaka Obihiro. I'm like, oh my god, it must be her birthday or something, or she just had some great luck. I don't know, but I have to say it was pretty good. Not gonna lie. So I think that's pretty much it with ChocoPro, but they will be taking a time off for a little while. Hopefully they will announce who will be in the next one. But stand by for that. So right now, let's move on with our next one is New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now let's focus mostly on this one with the Super Junior Tag League with the 5 matches. Our first match we have DKC and Taguchi. They take on the members of Catch 22, Francisco Ikera, and of course TJP. Now keep in mind, these guys are still coming off from a bad loss they had with the War Dogs. However, they are determined to bounce back in every way possible. I have to say they put up a good fight, but however, it was the 2-2 that put away DKC, giving Catch 2-2 the big one they needed. So they walk away right now with 6 points, with 3 wins and 2 losses. As for DKC and Taguchi, 4 points with 2 wins and 3 losses. So basically, many people could say that maybe Catch 22 could be the fan favorite, but we will see when we progress even further. Now, our next match we have just 5 guys, Taka Michinoku and Doiki. They take on Masushi and Yo. Now, from this point, we do know that just 5 guys have been not winning very matches. They have lost all 4 of their matches, but they cannot afford to lose another one right now if they want to stay alive just a little longer. But however, it was of course the Supple de K by Doiki onto Masushi to pick up the win. So this is the first win that just 5 guys needed. Pretty good one. So just 5 guys gained with 2 points with 1 win and 4 losses. As for Masushi and Yo, they only have 4 points with 2 wins and 3 losses. Now our next match, we have the House of Torture, Kanemaru and of course Sho, the little prick. They take on TMDK, Fujita, and Robbie Eagles. Now, of course, like any other match we've seen with House of Torture, we're going to see Evil, we're going to see Dick, we're going to see Yujiro get involved to ensure this match. But my God, I have to say TMDK stood their ground, similar to what LIJ did the last time. But, of course, one of my favorite moments, well, Kanemaru really botched the match by accidentally spitting whiskey into the face of Yo and allowing for Robbie Eagles to pin Sho. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Disappointing loss to the House of Torture. But they do have 6 points, meaning they have 3 wins and 2 losses. But they are determined to win the tournament. But we'll see where that goes. But as for TMDK, we do see they have 4 points with 2 wins and 3 losses. So they are barely holding on, but we'll see how we progress from here on out. Now our next match, we continue with LIJ, Bushi, and Titan taking on the Jet Setters, Kushida and Kevin Knight. You probably can say it's going to be a fantastic match. We could possibly agree. But however, this match ended with, of course, El Ángel Inmortal by Titan, but it was Bushi who picked up the win when he pinned what was his name? Kushida, and it was over right from there. Now our main event, I have to say this is going to be a tough match, more specifically because the first team is none other than Wato and El Desperado taking on the Bullet Club War Dogs. We're talking about, of course, Maloney and Connors. Now, you know the Maloney and Connors are going to bring in the violence, the every inch of things they can do to put away their opponents. Now, they're determined to win this tournament regardless. But, however, we know that somehow Wato and Despy have been holding on as possible, despite that they don't like each other in some capacity. But any other moment, of course, they were going to rip off Despy's mask because they don't care. But it was, of course, Desperado with the Pinche Loco onto Connors to pick up a good win. And they are now currently in the lead with 8 points, with, of course, 4 wins and 1 loss. So that means they are at the top. So most likely they could win. As for the Bullet Club War Dogs, well, This is their second loss so far in the tournament, so they only have 6 points with 3 wins and 2 losses. I'm sure they would love to have a rematch or a revenge match for this particular loss. So I think that's pretty much it right now with New Japan. Let's move on with AEW Collision. Okay, our final review, AEW Collision. It opened up with Jay White versus AR Fox. Now, as you know, Jay White continues to proclaim himself as the true AEW World Champion, but we all know by official records that it's not true. MJF is the real one. That weasel Nigel McGuinness thinks that he is because he believes what Jay White is saying. Of course, they're saying that MJF was the one responsible that attacking Jay White, but I don't think it was MJF. MJF has always been too honest to do the despicable things, but this is not one of them that he was willing to admit that it was his, because he knows how dangerous it can be. But however, Jay White did apply the Blade Runner to pick up the one. However, post-match, MJF was so close to take back the Triple B, but however, Jay White was not determined to lose the title that he claims is his. But sooner or later, MJF will have to reclaim it. But however, he has to contend with Kenny, who in fact is the challenger for the belt. Now, once again, the Acclaim doing a little promo with Daddy Ass. Max Caster again with MJF, and they told him to go stand in the corner. So basically, yeah. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, the boys, Dalton Castle's boys, ended up in the match against the Ass Boys, or should I say the Guns. This match ended with, of course, Colton picking up the win, taking on one of the boys, and it was over from there. Now, our next interview are conducted by Lex Signee. We do see Ryan Med, who just came back out of the blue. Seems he was seeking the services of CJ Perry as manager, so he was going to the room where she is, but on the other side, we see Mero, and of course, we saw he was attacked, so we may not see him for quite some time. So somehow Mero is determined not to have her be the manager. I don't know what's the deal, but it's kind of interesting. Now, our next match is the AEW Women's World Championship. We have Abaddon taking on Hikaru Shida. You probably can guess this match was going to be. This is a night fright match. I mean, anything could happen. They're going to use all kinds of weapons and toys. But I think the best memorable is seeing Abaddon with the pumpkin on her head. But it was, of course, Hikaru Shida with the katana onto Abaddon to retain the title. But however, during the post-match, here we go again. Toni Storm comes out to steal her thunder, try to steal the spotlight to Hikaru Shida. Now, the obvious question is Toni Storm making a play once again for the AEW Women's Championship? That is the possibility. We could see that taking place because if you guys remember, it was Shida that defeated Toni Storm before she became known as the Timeless. So that is the strong possibility, but we'll see where that goes. Our next match we have is another title match. We have the ROH World Television Champion Samoa Joe takes on a former World Television Red Titus. I have to say, Titus, he was no match for him, but however, it ended with a chokehold like any other match. So yeah. Now, what's her name? Renee Paquette conducted an interview with the members of the QTV more consistently because QT Marshall reappeared, saying who's next to face him for the AAA Latin America title. I mean, there's a lot of options, but we could see that take place at some other point. But we'll see. Now, it turns out, as you know, what happened to Bryan Danielson. Orbital bone was broken or whatever. He got injured thanks to what happened to the combination of the lariat and the orange punch. It appears that Claudio Castagnoli has one mission in mind, and that's to get his hands on Okada. So we will see that take place soon enough, but we'll pay attention to that closely. Our next match, we have Ricky Starks taking on Dax Harwood. But however, out of nowhere, we did see the House of Black showing up. We don't know what has been going on. But however, of course, there were going to be variables. Big Bill is outside. And luckily for him, Dax Harwood has cash in every aspect. But however, we did see the pile driver conducted by Ricky Starks onto Dax Harwood. It was over. And then all of a sudden, the lights turned off, and it was the House of Black that made the attack. And out of nowhere, we saw the appearance of La Facción Ingorpenable making their play. We don't know what was going on. They seemed like they had their attentions towards FTR, and then they attacked the House of Black. I don't know what's going on right there, but we know that there is now a war to determine who is in fact running Collision. So that's pretty interesting. Now, speaking of LF5, a member of what was of that group, we're talking about Andrade El Idolo. Lexi wanted to know his thoughts about them seeing back, but also at the same time with CJ Perry. He understands that this whole thing was a business, but it's his business, how it's being run. So he did not give a bit of the insight what's going on, but we will see more of that at some point. Now, Lexi does another interview, but this time it was requested by Chris Statlander to try to determine what's going on between Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue. Things got a little hectic during the number one contendership match if it wasn't for Abaddon winning. So basically, I can see that Statlander is determined to, how do I say this, try to make things right between them, but it seems like we could see a friction between both Sky and Willow Nightingale take place. So we'll find out what happens until then. Our next match, you can call it like a bit of a squash match. We have Claudia Cussingler taking on Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, but that match ended in a European uppercut, just like that. Now, before MJF heads to the ring, he's surprised by Samoa Joe. As you know, Samoa Joe has one thing in his mind, is to obtain the ROH World title, but he's determined to be his tag partner in the 8-man tag match against Jay White and all that. So I don't know how MJF will feel about it, but yes. Now, our match for the AEW World title, I have to say, what a classic. It was one of the most fantastic matches that you ever get to see. But however, we did see Don Callis showing up. Now, it doesn't take a genius what's going on. Now, Don Callis will ensure that Kenny does not become a world champion. He could have just minded his own business because MJF is a generational talent, how he described himself. But of course, it was the first he did apply the Panama Sunrise, that Adam Cole's move. Then he applied the Heat Seeker, and it was over from there. But by the end, all eyes were on what happened at the post match. We see, of course, Wardlow, Hobbs, who else? Samoa Joe, even at the Bullet Club Gold and all this other stuff. But however, you did see the respect between both Kenny and MJF. So MJF has gained the respect of Kenny Omega. So we'll see where that leads us in the future. I think that's pretty much it with our reviews with AEW. So let's do some news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So this is what we have for everyone. Now, if you guys remember from our previous episode on the latest news updates that I put in on that one, I did reveal that, of course, Wrestling Revolver will be making their debut in LA. So if anybody from the SoCal area are big fans of Wrestling Revolver, go check them out. I've seen many of their shows. I will not be attending since I don't drive there, but I can tell you what's been going on. The show is now being called Unreal. It will take place on the 16th of November in LA. However, many things have been announced involving that. As you know, we just recently saw Ronda Rousey make her appearance at Lucha Vavoom. But now it's been announced that she is now going to debut at Wrestling Revolver Unreal on the 16th of November. I have to say that's very interesting how that's going to be. They even announced Swerve Strickland will be there too, so will Mike Bailey, and of course we have Stingray, Paul Walker Hauser. I have to say, great to see them there. West Coast Pro has announced for their next LA show and for the 6th of December called Monster. They're going to feature Kenta, Brian Keith, Masaaki Mochizuki from Dragon Gate, and of course, straight up from Marvelous, Miu Momono. Fightful Select reports that Alex Hammerstone has issued a request to be released from his contract with MLW. This is a very surprising thing to hear. Now, we haven't seen him for quite some time in MLW. He was the guy who was going to be the face of the company, but now it feels like they just switched to Alex Kane, and I think it would make sense if that's the request. But the obvious question is MLW going to grant his release? But where would you like to see him go? For me, I feel he could go either to Impact Wrestling or possibly TNA starting in January. But we'll just see what happens after that. Moving on. Prestige and Tokyo Pro Wrestling for their Combat Princess show taking place on December 4th. The tag team, our current Princess Tag Team Champions, Free Wi-Fi, Nakakuda, and Hikari No will be making their appearance. I have to say, I'm very happy to hear that. Now, finally, Impact Wrestling has announced that they have signed 19-year-old UK wrestler sensation Leon Slater. Yes, Leon Slater is one of those wrestlers I have paid attention. Phenomenal wrestler. I think he's a fantastic guy, and I'm so happy that he got picked up by Impact Wrestling. No telling when he'll be making his debut, but I can't wait to see it. So I think that's pretty much it what we have so far for our news updates. Till then, let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do, but I do know we have the latest Stardom show coming up, which is a Halloween thing taking place. I'm so excited to see that one. I haven't seen yet the latest NWA pay-per-view, Samhain, or Samhain, however they call it. The latest New Japan Fighting Spirit Unleashed show, I haven't seen that yet. There's still plenty of events I haven't reviewed, but I'll get to those as soon as possible. So, but for now, we'll just leave it as that. I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.